Hi, I'm Deborah Sadler, and I'm the author of the trilogy Words of the Temple, A New Humanity, which is a positive cosmic perspective on events that have been taking place on our planet. And I began writing this trilogy 5 days after the murder of George Floyd. And I had recently retired from Crawford High School in San Diego Unified, where I worked in a small school within that high school called the Crawford Academy of Law and Justice. And our students were pioneers in initiating programs for restorative justice, not only within our small law academy, but out into our school and actually out into the district. And the district became a restorative practices district when I retired, which was very rewarding. So I'm just going to get right into it, and I am going to pull up a diagram that is based um, and this diagram is called the social discipline window. And I am going to actually just point out what this is, which is a diagram, and it is created by the International Institute of Restorative Practices. A lot of these strategies came out of New Zealand and Australia from their police forces because they found out that punishment wasn't particularly effective. And so over here on the left axis, you see low, and then you see control going up. So the more low control, and then it gets to higher control here at the top. And it says limit setting discipline. And then at the low axis, the bottom axis, which goes from left to right, we go from low to high support. And this is about encouragement and nurturing. So I'm actually just going to read directly from my book, Words of the Temple, Working Toward World Peace and New Humanity. And I'm actually just going to go ahead and read how I describe this in the book as you look at the diagram. We can see in the diagram from the International Institute of Restorative Practices 4 different approaches to discipline. At the bottom part of the model, we see that not disciplining is neglectful and irresponsible. It provides low support and encouragement. The 4 square is permissive, but maintains a higher level of support, encouragement, and nurturing. Yet, it is described as paternalistic, believing the authority knows best how to do the activity. We also see from the vertical axis that these 2 bottom quadrants are low on control and limit setting for discipline. In the top 2 quadrants, the 2, although it is punitive and authoritarian, provides much more control and limit setting outcomes than not disciplining or the more permissive 4. This is the model of our race consciousness. This is the model for before the marker of 12/21/2012. This is our known and recognized history. This is our legacy. The with pain of the window is restorative and authoritative, while providing limit-setting discipline resulting in control. This is what Sheriff Swanson, the Dancing National Guard, and the mass police officers in Coral Gables who took a unified knee were practicing. They let the frustrated and angry protesters know that they were with them. The result was total de-escalation of the building negative energy that Sheriff Swanson stated he felt. And this is a very famous sheriff who threw aside his gear and asked the leader of the protesters what they wanted. So I continue. His intuition told him that going into the crowd with riot gear was only going to escalate the situation. He had already witnessed a tussle between an individual and a police officer. He described his decision as spontaneous. In following his gut, he took a risk, literally threw aside everything he had been taught, opened his heart and showed the world an alternate approach. It worked beyond his wildest dreams. And then later he says that it was just the craziest thing that he'd ever done. So, what I want to point out is right now we have the return of old energy. And I mentioned this in the book, in what I just read about 12/21/2012. And we passed the marker. It's called the precession of the equinoxes. I just did a couple of videos on that. And the reality is that's when we moved into the light. And there's been a huge shift since then that will continue to grow as we grow from the dark to the light. And so when we were in the dark, we were very punitive. We always wanted to control people, so we did it to them. We punished them. You know what? If you do not behave in my classroom, then I am going to write you a referral and send you to the office so you are no longer in my classroom. Or we send people to jail, or we send them to prison. Or, as at the end of this book, Anthony Ray Hinton, he got taken to death row right from the get-go for something he never did. It took him, it was 30 years that he was on death row in Alabama. That is not restorative justice. They were just doing it to him. They needed someone that they could blame the two murders on so that the community would be safe. And he was a convenient target for them, even though he clearly had nothing to do with the crime. And so they just punished him. They just put him on death row. They did it to him. And when we do it we de-escalate and we join and we create, it's authoritative. We're the authority, but we're doing it with you. And what Officer Swenson found out was when he threw off his riot gear was that he de-escalated everything that was going on. And he went seeking for the leader of the protesters and said, "What do you want from me? What do you want from us? What do you want?" And all the protesters started saying, "March with us, march with us, march with us." And so it's that with model that we want to move into as the new vibration on this planet continues to bring us more light and more love and more uplifting energy. And so we now have an administration that may or may not have actually been truly elected that is doing everything to Americans. Americans are being punished across the board. We're doing it to you. We're not doing anything with you. We're not even doing anything for you. We're doing it to you. And in 6 weeks, Americans have gone from feeling very sovereign and in charge of their lives to feeling that we're victims that are being attacked by our leadership and that we have nothing that we could do to defend ourselves against this leadership that is a hostile takeover of our country. And you know what? We are not hopeless and we are not helpless. We need to get together with one another. We need to get together with one another and support one another in basically fighting off the dark. This is dark energy. Cryon, who is channeled by Lee Carroll, who I refer to all the time, who is an angelic group from the other side of the veil, who's basically informing us of the bigger picture of how the galaxy works, likes to remind us that that the era prior to 12/21/2012 will be known as the barbaric era because of the way we treated with one another and the consciousness that we had as a collective. And what we are seeing is the barbaric era being revived and renewed and basically shoved down our throats when the reality is we've been in the light since 2012. And we continue to grow more and more in the light. And so there's a light-dark battle taking place. And what we need to know is we need to do things with one another. We need to do it together. We need to understand that this dark energy is fighting for its life because its life is coming to an end. And so it is fighting dirty, It is nasty. It is creepy. And as Cryon said, I told you when the light started winning, all the deep, creepy, crawly things would come out. And so here they are. But you know what? They have no strength. They have no wisdom. They have no integrity. And they are a sinking ship. Another metaphor that Cryon has given us, which I like to share with folks, is there are two ships, and they're brand new ships. They've been built equally to the same specifications. And one ship is old energy, and the other ship is new energy. And they get launched into the ocean. And the ocean is new energy. It's no longer old energy. That went away in 2012. And so the ship that is brand new, that is old energy, is having to deal with the fact that it is in an ocean, a sea, that doesn't like it. And it starts rusting and it starts getting holes. And the other ship of new energy is just floating along. And so I think what you will continue to observe is that these folks who have taken made a hostile takeover of our country and our treasury and everything that we as a community and as a nation have worked for the last 250 years, and they think they're just going to trash it. And you know, nothing could be further from the truth. They're just trashing themselves because we're in new energy. And we are in a new part of our galaxy, and it doesn't support that old stuff. So I want to reassure you that the new energy is prevailing, and we have to just stick together with one another. And let's stop punishing other people. Let's stop doing it to them. I'm going to do this to you. I'm going to do that to you. No, you're not. You know what? You're a sinking ship because you are old energy trying to operate in a completely new setting that has no use for you and is going to reject you at every step of the way. And so that's my hopeful message for the week. So social justice is really just about treating one another with respect and coming together and figuring out ways that we can get people to change their behavior in a positive way rather than just punishing them, which makes them worse and more dangerous to us. So I just want everybody to have a great week. Hang in there. Everything is just as it is supposed to be. And keep the faith because this hostile takeover is short-lived. Bye.